Most blockchains talk about decentralization, but few tackle the human side of it. How do we know that the people running nodes or voting in governance are actually unique humans and not just one actor with 1,000 wallets? Victor Vernissage is the co-founder of Humanode, a blockchain project that ties consensus to biometric uniqueness. Instead of staking tokens, you stake your identity. The result, one human, one node, one vote. Victor, welcome to Token for Your Thoughts.
Hey, Lindsey. Thank you so much.
Yeah, it's
I'm
great
ready to talk to you.
Awesome. It's great having you on the show today. Thanks for coming on. So as always, we love to start by just hearing a bit about you and your background. So, what were you doing before crypto and what brought you into the space?
Well, as everybody, I was studying a lot, and my favorite subject ended up to be the theory of economic thought. And I was really into economics before that, before university. So yeah, I would say I'm economist in my heart because that's basically the science that I love the most. It's the least developed science in the world, especially macroeconomics. And that's where we could leverage our brains mostly, I suppose. That's what I'm doing pretty much. And before starting Humanode, I was into traditional IT, a few projects there. But then at one point of time, I went fully crypto, full time in 2016. And we were basically researchers, small investors in the crypto space, eventually ending up being one of the first participants in proof of stake network governance, like Tezos, Cosmos, and all of this. And well, this is how this experience led us to Humanode, because blockchains are decentralized in terms of open source technology. Anybody can fork blockchain and have their own. And they are kind of decentralized in terms of anyone can use it if you have a little bit of money to pay for gas fees. But the infrastructure and who really holds the infrastructure, who really has, let's say, governance power over the treasury of the blockchain or over even the consensus and truth that is there, is in the hands of few. And being validators in the first proof of stake networks, we were one of those who were in these private Telegram chats deciding the fate of any governance vote and things like that. And nothing have changed. If you have proof of stake or proof of work network, they will never be sufficiently decentralized. Sometimes we argue that, the euro-dollar economy of the dollar that we have right now is more decentralized because it can be created by pretty much any bank with a banking license in the world. And in crypto is just validators getting the minting, the issuance of the new token, and it's the validators or mining pools deciding what will be the next version of the blockchain. And we saw this for a few years while still working in proof of stake industry. We developed an app just for people to easily stake without using the command line, because it was like that just 7 years ago. And finally, in 2020, my co-founder Dado and I was nearby, we came up with the idea of basically verifying the uniqueness of people different ways, starting with biometrics, because biometrics is the most accessible from any device and more or less secure way to compare people between one another and to prove that there is a real person in front of the device, not a deep fake, etc. And create a blockchain which is based on validators and to become one and to have the power of one, the power in consensus and governance equal to everyone else. All you need to do is launch a small server, let's say $10, maximum $20 cost a month, or you can launch it locally on your home device and verify every week. That's how we run it right now for maximum security, that you're a unique and living human being. And that's the only thing we know about the person who runs a validator node. Yeah. that's how we came here. Yeah, it was a long way.
All right. Yeah. So you originally started out in sort of traditional IT. So what led you to sort of switch to crypto? I guess what drew you to it?
Well, of course, we heard about crypto a lot, but for a short amount of time in 2013
Hmm.
when I was still in university. And then in 2016, when I was already into like my second uh, and third traditional IT project,
Hmm.
well, I simply read a lot. And I felt a lot of FOMO because my friend philosopher told me about Ethereum in 2014. I opened the Wikipedia article and didn't understand anything. And then in 2016, I'm coming back to this, and then I got that thing in my mind. So basically, I had a slight depression back then because of the artificial intelligence. I read a lot of Yudkowsky, less wrong, like too much of it.
Oh,
And
okay.
yeah, well, I was sure that there is no way we are not gonna be puppies for the super intelligence, and as well we could just do whatever we want and do not pursue anything. But when I saw crypto, it felt to me like in the end this is a path of co-living uh, or some kind of controls over artificial general intelligence. And of
Hmm.
course, smart contracts just mm, the first smart contracts were written back then in 2016, but I kind of still believe this is how we can coexist together, based on some rules and common database that we all agree with.
Hmm. And so taking the decision to start Humanode, I mean, had you started a project before, or was that your sort of first foray into being a founder, co-founder?
No, I mean, I was a co-founder in traditional IT. I was
Oh,
a co-founder
okay,
all my
okay.
life. I
Oh,
worked like
right.
for 6 months in my life, maybe, just
Oh,
to
okay.
know how the banks look inside out for 3 months, and then how IT
Uh-huh.
startups look inside out for 3 months, and that was enough for me.
All right. So you were just like you had that entrepreneurial like bug for early on
Always,
then.
yeah, always, always.
Okay. Very cool. All right. And yeah, so that's interesting that you had read a lot about AI. It's sort of, you said, a bit unsettling. Do you think that sort of played into, like, Humanode being, wanting to verify humans and because that's, what you could hear sort of like the rise of AI and bots, that sort of the human elements have been in the spotlight a lot too of, yes, AI can be very efficient and it can do things, but people are now really spotlighting the value, the value that humans bring to the table, whether it's, that humanness that comes through copy or written pieces, or whether it's like in this case, knowing that one person is having, one vote. Um, so do you think that shaped your decision to start Humanode?
What shaped the decision to start Humanode is the understanding for a few years that it will not work out with the capital-based networks and blockchains that use proof of work, proof of stake,
Mm-hmm.
proof of storage, or whatever they use, which just depends on capital requirements. I mean, financial requirements. Because eventually, for now, yeah, we have a proliferation of stupid AIs spamming our social networks.
Mm-hmm.
But this is just the beginning, because eventually AIs will not be that stupid, that will be great in doing some certain tasks, optimizing, and earning a lot of money of this. And eventually, we're building blockchains to kind of have a ledger of truth, but if your ledger of truth can be stopped or even captured by a few for-profit entities, it is bad. But then, when AI has money, AI can control just everything we have,
Mm-hmm.
and change information as it wants. And we'll have to believe it because we don't have any other source which is verified in a different way, but the capital way. So
Mm-hmm.
this is why we're doing it.
Definitely. And you did sort of take us through a little bit in your intro, but for people new to Humanode, can you just take us
Yeah.
through like how it works, say like an example of how someone would use this?
So Humanode is the general purpose layer 1 blockchain. Okay, and it pretty much can do the same as Ethereum network can do. More efficiently, the difference is the economic security and the economic rules of the network. So the economic security is based not on how much Ethereum you have, but on the one person, one node principle, where everybody participates equally in consensus. Then they participate in the, well, partially democratic process of distributing the treasury funds and managing the blockchain development and the ecosystem development. And of course, the most interesting part is the fees distributed equally among all the, we call them human nodes, right?
Mm-hmm.
So currently blockchains earn a lot of money, and all this money go to the top 10, 50 validators, right? They are these for-profit entities who are earning from each transaction all the crypto users do. And if we had the network of the size like Base, let's say, or Arbitrum, or, well, Binance Smart Chain, that could actually feed, well, hundreds of thousands of human nodes. And the consensus would be based not on 10 for-profit entities, but on thousands, well, of hundreds of human nodes. I think to attack this network, well, you have to have a government attack on the network, I would say. But eventually you can always fork out. Yeah. So these are the main differences. And of course, how we're doing the uniqueness checks is, we're focused on biometrics. Pretty much, you saw these kind of biometrics while doing KYC, but we don't need passport data. We want everything to stay private. We only know about the, well, let's say, address of the person on the blockchain and the fact that this is a unique person who verified through biometrics. That's all we know. And we're using facial recognition for now because it is available on any device. Okay, it would be unfair if we would launch. I mean, we were totally against the idea of specialized hardware in order to scan people, because you would have to build this hardware, distribute it, start from one country, then to another.
Yeah.
It's not inclusive at all, and one country will end up not being signed up for the project for 100 years, let's say. Okay, it's hard to get world coverage, but with facial recognition, the accuracy is enough, let's say, for a few million nodes. Totally. For the whole humanity, not enough. But for a few million, that's when the errors start, and that's when you actually have to probably create other methods of verification as well to make the security stronger. We're not there yet, but we hope we're getting there.
Yeah. I guess that'll be a good problem to have if there are millions of people
exactly.
using it. So that was going to be my next question is, what, were there different ways of, like what were the options of verifying uniqueness? You mentioned that you can do it with specialized hardware. You mentioned, that you decided to use facial recognition because it's just easily available on every device. Were there like quite a few different directions you could have gone with, how to verify? And yeah, what made you decide to go with the biometric route?
Well, specialized hardware is also biometrics. It's just that you can have you can have an iris scan on your phone because you don't have infrared, and the camera is just not enough. Yeah. But there are other ways as well, and we think that it's never enough to have other ways of it. First of all, you could again, a little bit biometric way, but you could read the chip from the passport, the biometric chip from the passport. Having passport without biometric chip doesn't help much. You would have to have centralized KYC provider who sometimes has to check and compare your passport to your actual video or photo in plain picture, in plain video feed, So this is totally not what we wanted to have. And not everybody has biometric passports, okay, in this world. Some countries don't have them at all. Yeah. And then the other way is less strong Sybil resistance, but I would say more private in terms of you don't need any data, even biometric data. are like trust networks based on, well, people vouching each other. Okay.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So I would say this would be a nice addition to the biometric approach, because even with biometrics, if biometrics are accurate enough, you don't have a Sybil attack, but you still have sock puppeting attack. This is when one person is accumulating people around him. Can be from his work, or I don't know, from his school, from his football team, or
Yeah.
just paying neighbors. At least, some people are like families who are launching Humanodes. It's more or less
Right.
all right, but it's still sock puppeting because the people are not doing it themselves. So yeah, in terms of social graphs, they would help to counter the sock puppeting attack, I would say.
Right. Okay.
And what, of course, there are different kind of biometrics, and palm recognition is getting to the next level slowly. Not very approved yet, but vein recognition is nice. Needs specialized device, veins in your hand again. And well, I think that's all we have pretty much.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's interesting to see how like the different methods can sort of work in conjunction with each other, like you were saying at some point, rather
Oh,
than just, choosing one.
yeah, I completely forgot about on-chain history, your
Oh, okay.
on-chain track record. So I've been
Mm-hmm.
user from one of my addresses for, let's say, 4 or 5 years, but then I have 10 other
Mm-hmm.
addresses that I used just to test things out. And by on-chain, let's say, forensics, you could find out that I would be eligible for with just one address, not all of them.
Okay. All right. And what are the use cases to this? Like, who have you designed Humanode for? Whether it's people already using this, or whether it's a project or a use case that you particularly see this working particularly well for?
Particularly well for, well, now we're talking about other things of Humanode does, right? So we talked about infrastructure and having one person, one node network, and any kind of application can be built there. We're actually helping applications on a weekly basis as founders. This is the thing that we can offer them compared to huge blockchains who have a team of few hundred people, and founders will never have time to help with, let's say, fundraising, some valuable advice or connections. How we can help. And we are accumulating projects, consumer-focused projects, because the more transactions there is coming through Humanode network, the more Humanodes there are, because they are getting basically rewards from these transaction fees. This is how the system works. And we are working with consumer-facing projects, even if they don't care about biometrics. Okay, but they care about the fact that, yeah, we're one of the most decentralized networks. We also have a lot of validators. These validators immediately become the users of the applications based on our chain, and so on and so forth. Yeah, we're working maximum with 5 projects because that's when we can help a lot, and very hard to find projects that you would believe in, really. And then the other part of it is that we are developing, like, we have a special team inside Humanode that is developing the use case part of biometrics and Sybil resistance for things like airdrops, any incentive systems. One person, one NFT means in-game rewards that you cannot Sybil attack. Okay, in GameFi, in Web 2.5 gaming, which I like the most because the game is good and there is crypto. Yeah, and then, well, all kinds of things, to be honest. There are many use cases. I think we have at least 12. Some of them are much harder, which is the decentralization of decentralized organizations of other projects. Because when you started with the equity model, okay, the more tokens you have, the more vote you have. It's very hard to get away from it. Well, optimism started with not purely one token, one vote model. And they have things like that. They have their own committees that are based on some representatives from the token holders into the DAO who have one vote. But mostly, projects cannot switch, because who in their mind would give their power away to random democratic people who are elected not by them? And DAOs is a great use case, but we're not there yet because there should be DAOs built from scratch with new token models. I mean,
Right.
new models where token is not the only thing out there. And we look forward to it, right? So one of the things. But yeah, of course, most of the users we had over 700,000 users by now.
Wow.
Yeah, we have basically user-facing integrations that any application can use on 20 different chains. And Humanode chain being the center of all cross-chain verification for biometrics, I mean. And then we have Discord integration, Telegram integration for Discord servers, etc. And of course, most of the users are coming for rewards. Yeah. For airdrop filtering, things like that. But this is a protocol revenue that can be turned into more validators, bigger Humanode economy.
Okay. So you mentioned about the Discord integrations, and how does it work with that? Is that like making sure that everyone there that's in a community is a person and sort of screening out bots, or how does that work?
No, in Discord it works much better than on Telegram because Discord has roles, and they released the feature like right after our mainnet launch. They released the feature called Discord roles. You probably seen different roles on Discord. And linked roles. Basically, you can get a role based on information outside the Discord. And this is when we created just the Discord bot, Discord plugin that you can put into your server in like one click. And people will be able to get their unique human roles on your Discord, actually global for all Discord servers. Okay, so it's kind of great thing that Discord did, and it was very popular.
Yeah.
Still very popular.
Okay.
Yeah, because Discord is really well connected, integrated into Web3. Probably the best platform for it, just because they work a lot on integrations with different projects. Yeah.
Okay.
So
very
thanks
cool.
to Discord for doing that, and we just in 2 weeks integrated our biometric technology with them, and it worked fine.
Wow, nice. Have there been any surprising ways that people are, using this technology?
Surprising ways. That's a good
Yeah, or like
question.
use cases or
We don't have surprising use cases because we can imagine these use cases before they emerge. It's like
yeah.
Vitalik Buterin writing about DAOs and prediction markets in 2015, and now they're coming to
Yeah.
life, to real adoption. And yeah, the same thing happens there. Well, we love a lot the one person, one vote right inside Discord. You just add a bot and you have one person, one vote. If you're not verified, you cannot vote, but you can actually find out the real result. And it's not like votes that, let's say, Elon Musk puts on Twitter, which is botted like hell, and don't trust these numbers, never.
Right. And do you see this type of technology like playing a role in like elections as well, like, outside of
Yeah,
Web3?
totally.
Because that's
It
obviously a
will.
huge topic of conversation around, voter fraud and, how just, interesting conversations around like existing systems and, perceived shortcomings or just issues with that. And so that's sort of what comes to mind, like when I think of this.
So I would say it will be beneficial for any election to use the biometrics that are not based on any kind of document, because it's a two-factor, two-factor verification of voting results. I believe that in many countries, when voting happens, a lot of new non-existing IDs and passports emerge, right? And they vote. And this is how it gets rigged easily. Someone who has power in the government has the power to print a passport, even biometric passport. And this is when you have to have, of course, regular processes And then you have to have this biometric check, which is completely private. The government cannot mess up with it because all you can do is just delete all the biometric data if you turn off all the biometric servers, okay? And that's it. You will at least know if the election is rigged or not in terms of the numbers of passports participating in it compared to real people scanned with biometrics.
Right. Yeah. All right. So, and we've touched upon privacy. How do you sort of ensure privacy while still verifying uniqueness?
Yeah, so privacy in biometrics is not the best in the world because for now it's based on private neural networks, private algorithms, and private models, right? So when you work with the biometric provider, he actually cannot open source his weights of the models, etc., because it opens a surface of attacks. Okay, and we are using, let's say, the hardware way of doing things. We're using confidential virtual machines, which is like a trusted execution environment, just by a little bit different design. And the thing is that our trust model is that we don't trust the provider of biometrics itself. We don't trust the user, and we don't trust ourselves. Okay, so we don't trust anybody. We just launch the biometric server. You cannot change anything about the algorithms inside when you launch it, because the server rotates the key inside it, and this is the key to decrypt the biometric data collected from the users, not original photo or video. It's just anonymized 3D face map, face scan, which really hard to reverse to original. You have to know the exact weights to reverse to the original, the weights of the neural network. But then even if, you can try reverse it, you won't be able to get the biometric data in the first place because the server itself is the only thing that can decrypt the data and compare data, one person to everybody else.
Okay.
And that's the approach we take. There are much better approaches, like in terms of security, but not in terms of accuracy. So accuracy is important because if you have low accuracy, someone on this planet can look just exactly as you, and you won't be able to enter a system anymore because, like, it will tell you you're not unique. And at the same time, if we have a lot of privacy bringing, let's say, fully homomorphic encryption, this is where you just turn the human's face on the human's device into the ciphertext and compare ciphertext between each other. It is a beautiful cryptographic scheme, which we also were developing, but it would really, we would have to spend 5 to 10 years, first of all, for training our own biometric neural networks. And, secondly, the accuracy falls down because these are fully homomorphic encryption ciphertext things, not the original biometric data that we collect. So yeah, our approach is kind of a trade-off, and we're going to solve it by having, there is no way, even if the person works with the super fully homomorphic encryption, okay, there is no way for the user to verify it without looking at the code or reading documentation, which can also be not true, okay, and nobody does it, never. But we're creating a verification of our confidential virtual machine right in the user's browser. So, when you look at the address of the website on the left, there is, like, if you click on it, it shows SSL certificate, the website is secure. So in the next version of confidential virtual machine of Humanode, the user will be verifying that he really works with the confidential virtual machine, and he would see it in his browser. So that's what's going to happen. Yeah.
All right. Yeah, you mentioned accuracy. I've seen like random stories of people meeting doppelgangers, like just from other parts of the world, and they'll like meet up and they look like twins basically, but they're not related, or well, I guess they don't know if they're related. But yeah, you see like strange examples of that. So I guess
I had these examples a lot because when I lived in one city, people told me, oh, we've seen a person who looks just like you.
Oh,
And then I move
really?
into another city, a smaller one, and I met twice a person who looks just like you, but
No
it was not you
way.
100%. Yeah, so it happens everywhere in the world.
Oh my
Yeah,
gosh.
even if you
Yeah.
go to another part of the world. Yes.
Yeah, I hadn't heard of it, and then I think someone did a thread of like it happening to people that it had happened to, and the pictures are kind of crazy. You're like, oh my goodness, they look so similar, but they don't even like live close to each other. So you
And
mentioned, oh,
this
carry
leads us
on.
to the question of twins that everybody's interested in terms of
Mm,
biometrics.
of
So
course. Oh
yeah,
yes.
uh, non-identical twins are fine with the current technology that we have. But identical twins are not fine for facial recognition. They will always be the
Ah.
same person in terms of facial recognition. Yeah, this is the problem we have. But if you have an iris scan, like WorldCoin does, or you have
Mhm.
a vein recognition on your hand, or even
Oh,
then it's much better.
okay.
They will be different.
Right. Yes, that is a good point to to think about twins. But yeah, when you actually do have a twin, that could be an issue. Okay. So at the moment, just one twin would be able to use it, I guess. Is
Yeah,
that
yeah.
right now? Okay.
Unfortunately, yeah. In our
All
case,
right.
yeah.
Okay. And you mentioned a specific, like you mentioned the examples of working with DAOs, but a lot of the times you said ideally they would have to sort of start again to have the right setup. What kind of possibilities open up when you do have a scenario where like everyone, every participant does have equal weight? What suddenly would work or the benefits be that, wouldn't be the case otherwise?
This is a good question. Well, you have a lot more participants in the DAO. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
you pretty much, if we're talking about crypto startups, mm, usually you have some developers interested in the project, but these developers are not rich as the funds, as rich as the founders themselves, and
Mm-hmm.
their vote does not have a say, right? And they probably churn, they don't vote in these DAOs anymore when they see that they have 0.001% of all votes, and it doesn't matter what they say.
Mm-hmm.
But in case of you would have more community participation, developer participation, even I think marketing people would participate more because they can really propose something, they can go into the community and work on feedback from the people and then get a grant for doing something for the project.
Mm-hmm.
So it can change a lot of things. We are having this democratic, well, not completely democratic, but at least the facade of the democratic governance in our countries. And some countries are really trying hard to, well, still have democracy. But then in crypto, we're living in the dark ages or before dark ages, where just the rich directly control everything that's happening and own from every transaction from the person. It sounds pretty dystopian, and it is what it is. Okay. And we may change in principle how crypto looks like for the people if we
Mm-hmm.
have more systems like Humanode. But we're building Humanode for 5 years. It's very hard, to be honest, to build a project which is not only focused on revenue and money, and but based on some values. That's why we
Mm-hmm.
sacrifice sometimes money for values, let's say, or
Mm-hmm.
revenue for values. And it will first take, well, us a few years to create a working, a non-plutocratic, decentralized organization. And only
Mm-hmm.
after that, others will try to do it as well, because it is very hard. It,
Mm-hmm.
it takes a lot of time of discussion, etc., to build a system like that. It's a complex social system like every government is. It's not a one token, one vote, easy system that you can write with AI in 10 seconds. Okay. So
Right.
very different things. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And so you mentioned earlier that you're quite selective with projects that you work with, and so can you share like what your values are and what you look at with projects that you're considering
Uh,
working with?
We're looking at how consumer facing there are, how many users they can bring to Humanode. The more users there are, the more transactions there are, the bigger the Humanode network is, and eventually we'll get from 1,000 validators that we can incentivize to 100,000 validators, let's say, out of which 10% will participate in governance, and it will be the biggest decentralized network in terms of DAO in the world, pretty much, by then. And that's why we focus on consumer-facing startups. We would love them to, value Sybil resistance. For example, in the game, if you want to receive a reward, the game we're working with, called Catacomb Crawlers, basically, when you already played a lot and you're ready to cash out your reward, let's say, through selling the NFT in-game assets that you earned, you can only do it only after biometric check, okay? And it pretty much changes the economy of Sybil attacks and one person getting a lot. But we're working with the game because this is a great Web2 game on the level of Diablo, and they can conquer market and bring us a lot of users as well. So this is why we're doing that. And the other one is the project that doesn't really need a lot of Sybil resistance, but we love the novelty and the, again, not only novelty, but the values of the project is DeSci project, Episteme. And the guys are doing prediction markets for DeSci, and part of the trading fees are going to actual researchers or different DAOs, that emerged in crypto, who actually do more open source research compared to those people in academia who publish their papers to get access to them. An average person wouldn't get access to them because it's too expensive and it's kind of closed circle. So just these values of promoting science, and they have a beautiful idea of turning the money of the speculators, let's say on meme coins, into speculators of scientific hypotheses. They would learn something, and by trading there also bring more money into actual science. So these are just examples. I think there are a lot of great projects out there who have interesting novel ideas, consumer focused, but very hard to find them. Yeah, a lot of AI copycats and things like that. Yeah.
And so how has building in Web3 compared to, your other journeys in, building companies in traditional IT?
I think that it's not a big difference when you are creating revenue generating startups. It's the same things like unit economy and when to put money into marketing, when to release the product. It's pretty much the same, but it feels completely differently when you're not doing only for-profit projects. So Humanode is a non-profit foundation. Anything that Humanode earns goes to Humanode validators. And eventually part of this will also go to DAO for some expenses. But that's a completely different feeling to work on something like that, because I was also managing a fund. And life is different, Life is not that rich. It's much harder, but it's a lot more happier life, I would say, with every day doing something good, not just for bringing money to yourself, to investors.
Yeah, absolutely. Having something like that's really purposeful. Absolutely. So what is looking ahead, what's coming up for Humanode? Like, what are you working on? What should we be looking out for, like, in the next year or so?
It's all open information. We have like 4 pillars of development. One of them is that we're finally working on the specification and implementation of our decentralized organization. And it might be built in the next year already to the mainnet and start managing a small treasury of funds, just for starters. But it will be already probably the most active and decentralized DAO pretty much from the start, because we already have active validators who are voting on our Discord, and then they would just move their ideas and votes on chain. So that's gonna happen pretty soon. And also during the last year, we've been focused a lot on like ecosystem expansion and improving our, let's say, network adoption metrics, like the number of transactions, number of users, etc.
Mm-hmm.
And well, I just told you about 2 projects we work with. We would also like to work with like 3 more projects at least, but we haven't found the teams that we would love to work with yet,
Mm-hmm.
and they would love to work with us. And internally, we're working on, integrating our biometric verification into all kinds of reputation systems in crypto on different chains. Okay, we're already integrated with Linea, and many other blockchains are having or developing their own reputation systems like on-chain scores. And our biomapper is part of the on-chain score, which is like
Mm-hmm.
your cross-chain Sybil-resistant address. You can have only one in the whole EVM world. And
Okay.
yeah, it really kind of improves the trust to your address. You would be eligible for more rewards, airdrops, not going into Sybil lists. Okay, and
Mm-hmm.
that's why we're integrating all of these reputation systems, on-chain scoring systems, things like Gitcoin, Passport. Many of those nowadays, and
Mm-hmm.
also data analysis platforms that do the Sybil checks on airdrops without asking user to do something. They're actually winning the race, I would say, for revenue from airdrops as a service, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Because you don't need to tell the user, hey, you have to scan yourself and wait 300,000 people to scan themselves, which actually happened with us, but it happens just once a quarter, let's say, with one big partner.
Right.
But once
Okay.
you're integrated with all these systems, it makes sense for you as a user to finally register your address and make sure that all these systems will also, well, think that you're not a Sybil
Mm-hmm.
account. And yeah, we're internally as a BD team and use case team in engineering, they work on it currently. And this is something that, well, can easily bring us 1 million paying users in 1 year. Yeah, because
All right.
our BD team is already huge and we're together with them for 2-3 years. Yeah. So,
Nice.
yeah, well, all these things will mean that, well, Humanode is finally getting decentralized in terms of governance, and there is more fun to participate in Humanode for outside people to build something on Humanode or to improve the protocol itself. And then by having all these applications and our own use cases, we would have more protocol revenue that would increase the number of Humanodes, that would
Mm-hmm.
in return increase the governance participation, and this is the wheel that is working together in order to bring us to a really big parallel, uh, let's say, partially democratic system. We call it cognitocratic and meritocratic
Mm-hmm.
because the power in the system belongs to people who are experts and who actually build stuff. Okay, so
Right.
yeah.
Yeah, exciting times ahead then. Lots going on. Uh,
Yeah.
is there
Well,
anything
we've been
else?
preparing for that for a few years, okay? Yeah.
Right. Yes. Yeah. Is there anything else that we didn't cover that you want to talk about before we wrap?
Yeah, I wanted to talk about the fact that for some reason people were mining Bitcoin in their homes back in 2016, like 15, when I entered the industry. The
Mm-hmm.
vibes were completely different. And now people
Yeah.
are praying for media company of US president to buy some coin and pump it up. And this is awful, okay? I hope
Mm,
that sometimes we will be fed up with this. Because what's the reason to have a decentralized blockchain that is owned by BlackRock, Fidelity, and the holy trinity of financial world? It changes nothing. It gives them more control, and
mm-hmm.
we're kind of losing it. So this is something
Mm-hmm.
I want people who are still into blockchain to sometimes think about. Like, what are we doing? Is hyperliquid
Mm-hmm.
really a thing that we wanted to be here, or we wanted something else?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's interesting seeing the journey from, looking at why crypto was started, why it was created, based on those fundamental ideals of decentralization and, as an alternative to traditional finance, and then where we are now with the intersection of traditional finance sort of creeping in.
Nobody cares about
yeah.
Antonopoulos today, but
Mm-hmm.
back then everybody started with the lecture from Antonopoulos, and that's
Mm-hmm.
how, I don't know, half of the people are into crypto back before 2016, before
Mm-hmm.
the ICO craze, let's say, started.
Yeah. Yeah, it's an interesting one. On the one side, it's like people say, "Oh, it's adoption, though, isn't it great? Everyone's getting involved." But then it's like, but yeah, it's the complete opposite of why this
Yeah,
was
well, it's
created.
adoption, but
Yeah.
infrastructure is not decentralized anymore, and it's kind of getting
Mm-hmm.
centralized and centralized. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. No, that's a really good point. So yes, it'll be interesting to see where things go. Well, thank you so much for coming on the show, Victor, and
Thank
telling
you,
us all
Lindsey.
about Humanode. It seems like a really fantastic solution and much needed,
Thanks.
with the rise of, just obviously like things like AI and, not knowing sort of what is human or, I think having a verification process is really important. And we've talked about some really interesting and important use cases. So, yeah, excited for you to see, where things go, and all the best for everything you're working on right now.
Thank you very much, Lindsey. It was fun. Thanks a lot.
Great. Yeah, it's been really great chatting with you. Thanks, Victor.
Yeah. Have a good day.
You too. All right, so that's it for today's episode of Token for Your Thoughts. If you enjoyed the conversation, be sure to follow the podcast and stay tuned for more voices shaping the future of Web3 and crypto. We'll see you on the next episode.